Welcome back to another edition of Crowding the Plate, Branded Fam. I am Kmess. Sorry for the delay this week. We had a ton of stuff going on, but we are here and we are better than ever. As always, we are brought to you by thebrandedsports.com, branded_sports on Twitter. Go over there for anything you need. I'm going to start the show just saying that I am 2-0 against Dubs this season. How are you doing up in Beantown?
You know, not great. Things have been going better on all fronts. The Bruins lost. The Red Sox have been losing all season.
Yes, they have.
But, Celtics are winning. The Red Sox got a win, which every win at this point for me just feels like, oh, that's the turning point.
And that was a big win last night.
And then it was, but then they usually go lose 3 more. So
I hope so.
Also, we've been home for like 5 days for the entire season so far. So once we maybe get through that spell, it could be we could see a little change.
Yeah, like we've been saying since spring training, this beginning of the season stretch for you guys was a killer.
Still being a killer. We're back on the road already. I mean, we got 2 series at home, one of which was a 2-game series, and then we went to New York, and now we're back in Tampa.
And what a shit place to play in Tampa. Nobody's motivated to play down there. But yeah, you still won, so that's why it's even a bigger win.
Yeah. So things are looking up. The right guys were getting hits, but we'll talk Red Sox later.
Yes, we will. So where do you want to start? Because there's been, since the last time we talked, a ton of shit has been happening in baseball.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything. The biggest news of the week has to be the White Sox-Royals bench is clearing. I mean, you call it a brawl, call it what you want. I mean, we've had a couple of them this year, and I think they're great for baseball, but this one in particular was kind of weird the way the fallout occurred. So basically, if you missed it somehow, I mean, I don't know how you would.
How you did.
But Tim Anderson, early in the game for the White Sox, pimped a home run. Pimp heard around the world. Everyone loved it. I personally, I'm a big rotational flip guy on the bat flip. He kind of flung it.
Yeah. Bryce Harper had a good bat flip early in the season. He flipped. I think it's still spinning.
I think rotations absolutely matter in a bat flip.
100%.
If you're talking about like how do you rate bat flips, like rotations are a massive factor.
Yes.
But, energy gets the best of you. You just toss the bat. Regardless, it's one, pitchers think it's disrespectful, and 2, it still looks awesome. Like you think about someone like Jose Batista's bat flip.
Oh God, that was
less of a flip, more of just a freak out.
Yeah.
Like sometimes those are more exciting, but
that was just a fuck you. That's what that was.
Yeah, exactly. But the fallout from the benches clearing is Tim Anderson, who bat flipped, got suspended for 1 game. I mean, keep in mind there was no brawl. No one was throwing punches. There was nothing of note.
This wasn't
Puig going 1 nuts. Game. The league is saying it's for a slur. We'll kind of debate that in a second. But Royals pitcher who threw at him, Brad Keller, he got 5-game suspension or 1 start. It's pretty standard for pitchers and players in a benching clearing situation. But do we think it was a slur? Do we think it was him starting with the bat flip?
I think it's the bat flip. I mean, did they come out and say what the slur was?
No. Yeah, which I wish they would. It's almost one of those things where it's like, in theory, you're like, yeah, you probably don't have to release it because it's just vulgar or whatever you want to say. But I mean, if there's controversy over it and people think that the MLB is once again killing all the fun with the bat flip, I think you have to give
absolutely
the account, whatever account caused you to give him that 1-game suspension, you have to release that account to the people so that they understand that the MLB isn't on one side with their Twitter page going, let the kids play on Tim Anderson's bat flip, and then turning around and giving him a game suspension. So you have to release the details of that.
And without releasing it, every single person is going to think he got suspended for the bat flip.
Yeah, like because in any other situation with the MLB, they usually are just trying to kill the fun.
Absolutely.
So it's like if you have that reputation and you think, and it could be anywhere correlated to doing that again, and that's really not your reasoning, then you have to present that to the people.
100%. Has Anderson come out with anything since? I haven't heard anything from him. I think he's just Shut it down,
I mean,
taking
he
the
was
one
just,
day.
well, he was kind of shit. Not after the suspension, I haven't heard
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, that's what I
But
mean.
after the bat flip and stuff, he was like, I'm gonna play my game, which
Oh
I
yeah,
appreciate. You know,
absolutely.
absolutely appreciate it. So I have kind of two questions.
Yep.
One, are bat flips getting out of control?
No.
I agree. I think there is something to be said for it's like it's the middle of April, dude. How big of a home run was that in the second inning of a 1-1 game?
But who knows? He may never hit another home run again in his life.
Yeah, I mean that'd be pretty embarrassing.
But you never
But
know.
but I agree, and I also agree. If play with emotion. It's
Yes.
if you want people to be into your team, then your team needs to be playing with emotion from start to finish of the season. That's how the Red Sox did it last year. That's how a lot of great teams that, especially with great regular seasons, do it. Is they play with that emotion, and I'd rather my players have that emotion.
And what do we always say about the younger generation falling away from baseball? This is what they want to see. They want firepower. They want excitement. They don't want old fuddy-duddies just say, nope, it's a home run, walk around the bases, touch home plate, go back in the dugout and shut up. That's not what this generation is. That's not who they are. That's not what they want to see. And if you're going to outlaw that and you're going to suspend people for a slur when we know what it was for, you're just going to turn off that generation that baseball is saying, we don't care if you don't like baseball. We're baseball.
Yeah. And in the argument that it's like act like you've been there and stuff like that, it's like why? I don't like if that's your style and you're like, hey man, I feel comfortable hitting the home run and letting the numbers speak for themselves, and I'm gonna walk around those bases because I know I've been there and I know I'll be there again.
Yep.
I respect that, but you can't sit there and tell me it's making the game more fun that way.
No.
Like unless you're a guy who, JD Martinez is a perfect example where he's very quiet, very level-headed,
Mm-hmm.
respects the game, all that stuff. And he does it that way and he chooses it to do it that way. But that's the reason he didn't get as much money on the free agency market. That's the reason that he's not as notable, even though he's been unbelievable for the
It has
last
been.
4 or 5 years.
Yep.
So it's a personal decision. If you don't want to be as marketable a player, then that's up to you. But if all these young guys want to come in and bat flip, make their money, and play the game a fun, energizing way, then to deprive them of that is ridiculous.
Like look at, I know this is a little bit different, but look at the most popular sport in the world, soccer, football. Like when those guys score a goal, they go nuts. Yes, scoring a goal in a soccer game is probably a lot harder than hitting a home run in April, but they're taking their shirt off, they're sliding on their knees, the whole bench is coming out. And people love it, and it's the most popular sport in the world. I've never seen a suspension for a celebration in
Yeah.
soccer. It's apples and oranges, but it's not.
Yeah, and I don't want it to get so overblown that we're doing
No,
these like setup celebrations and
no.
stuff, but it's
I
like,
hate that in football,
I
by the
mean,
way.
get back. The early 2000s were a hell of a time for baseball.
Yes.
I mean that it's it, people always look at it's like, oh, it's a steroid era, just a lot of like home runs, and that's what made it so exciting. It's like last season had more home runs than any time in the
Mm-hmm.
steroid era,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a lot more to do with just marketing those players during the
Yes.
steroid era.
Yes.
And you have to repeat that process and do that now with these players and do it in the same way that they were before. Like it was so exciting when you had Vlad Sr. out there, Sammy Sosa. Like these guys were electric players that did it, in the way that we're seeing guys do it again now.
They did it their way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's kind of that Cuban flair too, obviously, with those leagues down there. This is how they play. This is their game. We saw the World Classic, all that
yep.
stuff. But, you got to let them do it. My second question to get back to originally, I mean, how do you feel about pitchers beating people after pimping home runs?
It's kind of part of the game too for me. I mean, I don't know. As long as you're not throwing at his head or at his wrist, you're hitting him in the back, you're hitting him in the ass. You're just kind of, setting the tone. Like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather see someone get beamed than a pitcher losing his mind on the mound and starting a brawl. Like, you know what?
Well,
I didn't like you pimp it. I pimp in the home run. I'm going to hit you. That's just baseball.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, so the argument for and against it, the argument for doing it is that's baseball. Basically,
Yep.
that's kind of it. It's like that's the way baseball's been, which is kind of contradictory to the bat flips, basically.
Yes, it is.
So it's like, are you preventing bat flips by beating people or, whatever? And the argument against it is just that, basically. It's like and also that if you're just not good enough to strike him out, and you're all
Mm-hmm.
salty about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so I'm really a fence rider on this one, because I think I like the passion of honestly beating someone. Like, I
Yes.
think if you're that into the game and you're that mad, that's awesome.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you're so worried about someone pimping a home run, then how in the world are you going to pitch well? How are you even going to make it to that guy's next at bat?
True.
Like, it's stuff like that. And I think for my, like, if it's one of my pitchers, I want him to be more composed and be like, I'm not going to hit that guy. I'm going to go strike him out.
Strike him out. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it is a touchy subject in that regard.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
And it's definitely pitcher to pitcher too. Like guys like
Mhm.
Chris Archer, who started the Pirates Reds brawl earlier in the season. I mean, that guy is always doing that.
Always.
It's always salty. But part of me is like, I love Chris Archer for being that emotional.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think it's exciting. A guy like Jose Fernando was the same way.
Yep.
And he, that's what made him so electric. Even though he passed at the age of 23, like that's literally what made him so electric in those few years that we had him, was that he played with that fire.
He didn't back down.
Yeah, so it's such a hard fence to ride, but I really think it does the game a service to have something to talk about like this.
Mhm.
And I think personally, if I see my pitcher, get pimped on like that, and then the guy comes up the next at bat, what I want him doing is throwing behind the guy.
Yeah.
Don't hit him. Don't give him the base. Don't give him that satisfaction. Throw
Just let
behind
him
him.
know you're there.
Let him know you're here. Let him know, that won't be happening on my park again. And then go 3 straight pitches and strike him out or get him out. Like do something like that. That's much more asserting your dominance, because you show him you're here. And then that's the classic Pedro. Give him a good brush. Give him a good sweet chin music, and then let him know you're there, and then go strike him out.
And then all he's thinking about is that. And then he's not thinking about the next 3 pitches.
Yeah, exactly. Every pitcher in the early 2000s, late 90s did that. I mean, that was a big time. Clemens king of it.
Yeah.
I mean, but even going back to Nolan Ryan will pull that crap. Like people, like the biggest pitchers in the game's history have done stuff like that, and I think that was part of the reason they were so revered. So I think
you're right. I think that is the best option. Do I think you should never not being somebody? No. But you're right.
Well, there's retaliation purposes too. It's like if someone has a dirty play, you got to go hit that guy.
Yes.
Like that's so much different than getting pimped on,
And chances are you're sending your worst pitcher out there to do it.
Yeah. Like a great analogy is, so my cousin texted me with this. He goes, I feel like hitting a guy after pimping a home run is similar to fighting in hockey in retaliation. And I thought to myself, I kind of see the vision, but I think it's much more like, I think it would be much more equivalent to a pitcher beating a guy after a dirty play would be kind of like fighting in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And then beating a guy after a home run would kind of be like tackling a guy in a celebration after a goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, where do you kind of draw that line? Hockey draws the line there. You can't do that. You can't go attack a guy after a goal unless there's a dirty play right prior to the goal or something. Yeah. So it's kind of like that sentiment. So it's almost like I kind of would like that median that we just talked about before, where if it is hockey per se, you go chirp the guy. You don't hit him. You just go chirp him. You go brush him back with a good pitch inside.
And like you say, I'm here, and that's not happening again, and then go sit your ass down.
Yeah,
I just struck you.
Kind of like just watch yourself.
Yep.
And then and I like that. I think that's kind of, so I bring up the hockey analogy because I think that's a perfect one where they use the argument self-policing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of self-policing the game within the game. And talk about baseball being a mental game. This is all part of it. This is all mental duel. All of this.
100%.
None of this has to do with baseball except the home run that started it off.
Yep.
Everything else is just mental game. And I like that they're playing it. I like that we can see them playing it. Because a lot of times you don't know what's going on in a guy's head. And when you see this, you see the emotion. You feel more connected. You understand it more. It's more exciting.
And you feel more connected not only to the player, but the team and the sport overall. And again, that's what this younger generation wants to see. And they're so used to being connected in every single way. Their phones at their hip constantly. They have the iPads. They're in the locker room, on news shows. They want to be connected 100% all the time. So if they feel just a little bit disconnected, they're out.
And I feel like the other thing too, just we'll close it off in a second here, the subject, but I mean the other thing to keep in mind too is MLB doesn't love benches clearing and stuff like that. It gets messy sometimes, and if it gets out of hand and people are doing it all the time, like you're gonna get injuries, you're gonna get longer suspensions, more and more issues. But it's also something where you need to lean into that a little bit, MLB. I mean, there's a reason the biggest hits that the MLB will get on Twitter or Instagram or what have you is these brawls because people love fighting, people love the tension, people love the aggression of sports. And that's why people sour on the NBA a lot, stuff like that, where it's a little too cutesy, a little too
friendly,
buddy. So it's having these are so good and important for the game. And I think finding a way to manage them, promote them, and do it the right way for the MLB is something that they need to figure out
hard.
sooner
It's
than
hard.
later. Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to.
Yeah, there's no easy fix.
No. And especially to promote, it's a difficult thing to do, but it's, I think they're paid enough money to try and figure it out.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there has to be a solution somewhere in here where it's a perfect medium where you don't. I mean, you're not going to get rid of benches clearing anyways.
Never.
But I mean, you want your teammates backing up the other teammates.
Yes.
Why beanballs are fun. That's why.
That's what being on a team is about.
So I think it's a part of the game that people are kind of blowing out of proportion a little bit, where it's like this isn't new.
No.
To be perfectly honest,
it's very, very old.
Yeah, it's been a bigger subject this season for whatever reason, but it's a very old subject. Like this has been happening forever. This is just baseball. This is the way you retaliate. You can't just, Jose Batista at second base and just start throwing hands, like
or
on a slide. Yeah,
Odor.
You can't.
Hell of a punch,
that was
by the
awesome.
way.
It was. But time to move on. Speaking of Toronto,
he's coming home. He's coming home.
Vlad
Canada and everybody.
Jr.
He's coming home.
Sounds like Canada maybe off the hook.
Yes.
Maybe avoiding themselves a crowding the plate protest. Toronto has officially announced Vlad Jr. is expected to make his MLB debut on Tuesday against San Fran. So we finally get it, and here's why it happened finally. Vlad Jr. is absolutely ripping up the minors.
He's crushing it.
Absolutely ripping it up. Through with both A+ ball and AAA ball as he kind of rehabbed a little bit.
Yep.
His minors this season, he's slashing 344, 432, and 594.
Stupid.
And then in his 20 plate appearances in AAA alone, he's batting 412, 500, 824 with a 1.324 OPS.
The time is now.
I mean, it's preposterous what he's doing. Like he's ripping it up. He only got better. I mean, his numbers in A+ ball was, I think he was batting like 212, but he was just getting back from the injury, and then once he got to higher competition, he just notched it up insanely. So we're finally getting him, and I'm ready. They're going up against San Fran in his debut. What do we expect other than obviously we're gonna get the bombs? I think he's hitting one in his first game.
Yeah, he has to. He has to.
Yeah. I mean,
if he doesn't, I'm gonna be very sad.
Shame on me. I didn't check if they were at home. I assume they're at home Tuesday night when in his debut.
You would think that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see one in McCovey Cove, but
yeah, shame on me for not checking. But if it is at home, I mean, I want holes in that stupid roof in Toronto.
Yes, and I want every freaking person in Canada there. If you're not there for that game, if there's a poorly attended game, shame on the fans in Toronto.
Absolutely, and it's funny because Toronto. And it probably will be poorly attended, honestly, just with the hockey playoffs going on. But Toronto, generally, I mean, when it matters. And
when they're in it.
I mean, those playoff series in Toronto are absolutely electric. And
we were talking about that bat flip Batista before.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And obviously, you get the dome. It makes it a little louder, what have you. But, I mean, that place can really fill up. So down the road, you're looking at probably a lot more fans coming to the games with Vlad Jr. hanging around. So it's awesome for them, and I'm glad we didn't have to protest them because I didn't want to make the drive.
Are they saying he's going to start at third or DH, or they haven't announced?
I don't think they've announced it. They haven't even officially called them up. They're saying they're going to do it Tuesday. So, I mean, there'll be more to come on it, obviously, and next episode we'll be able to discuss his first game or two. And I mean, I'm just excited. I mean, we got a Vlad Guerrero back in the MLB.
Major League Baseball. promote this guy the right way. That's all I'm going to say.
Please. I want him. By the way, I want his bat to go further than the ball he hits on his first home run. Like I want
Fling
that. Yeah. I want them to be looking for that bat for like 3 days.
Yes, and never find
where
it.
the hell it went. Yeah.
Something in orbit around the moon.
Yeah, I know. NASA's investigating.
Yes,
next
exactly.
Week.
That's
like,
what we
I don't
need.
know what this is. It's just this weird speck. It's been floating around. I can't tell, man.
I want to see that ass basis.
Actually, it does stink for Vlad Jr. because he really isn't going to get. Anytime he has a milestone for home runs, he's never going to be able to find the ball to keep it.
No.
Like everyone's got their trophy case, and his is going to be empty solely because they can't find any of the baseballs.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm sure he is too.
Yes.
I'm sure he doesn't give a shit.
No. I'm never excited about anything good in any other AL East teams, but this is the exception to the rule. I want him to mash. I don't care if he mashes against the Yankees. I just, please just mash in a losing effort against the Yanks. But I can't wait. I'm so excited.
It's awesome. It really, I mean, I'm just giddy. It's awesome.
I am. I feel like a little kid before Christmas.
But from one team trending upwards with Vlad Jr., we'll go to another team that's always trending downwards in the Mets.
No matter what they're doing.
And star pitcher Jacob deGrom, who has been, he's definitely been struggling over his last few starts.
Yeah, he has.
2 starts at least. He's been getting rocked like he's never been rocked in his career. And they're saying it's an elbow injury. They put him on the 10-day DL. Yesterday, as in Friday, they told us, get an MRI on the shoulder.
All sounds normal.
Today, Saturday morning, possibly the Mets upper management partaking in 420.
Here we go.
deGrom was seen throwing on flat ground in the outfield this morning, a day after saying he needs an MRI on his elbow.
And
then
baseball.
Furthermore, a report comes out from Matt Ehalt. Don't know who he is. Mets reporter. That's probably why.
We check. We trust him.
Tweets out, he may not have the MRI now per Callaway. Apparently, doctors are okay and on board for no MRI.
What are we doing here?
What the fuck are we doing? You just
signed him.
You just invested another decade of this guy, and he
is your team.
It's absolutely preposterous that they're not going to take care of this guy with their history, knowing how important deGrom is. They're just gonna let him ride it out.
He's fine.
Knowing how he's had historically bad 2 starts recently compared to the rest of his career. He never does this.
No.
And he's
steady Eddie usually.
And he's not playing well. And then before even he was supposed to make his next start, he's throwing on flat ground all of a sudden. It's like, what the hell are we doing? We can't even get him a week of icing first before we even make decisions. Like,
you can't go by the Yankees rule. We're just gonna shut you down for a little while. Just go take a nap.
Which I also think is not a great idea, but it's a better idea than just letting him literally throw through an elbow injury that, if you're 14, I was 14 years old and I had elbow issues because I was playing on 2 teams or whatever during the summer. I was playing third base. I wasn't even pitching. My elbow was jacked up.
Yep.
It hurt every single day. I was putting icy hot on like it was moisturizer.
Yep.
And that's just me at 14 years old. Jacob deGrom at his age, with the wear and tear, knowing he's so important, and his elbow being the issue. What the fuck are we doing?
I would not, if I was a Mets organization, I would not want anything to do with him throwing a baseball for at least a week. Just what is him throwing on flat ground today? What benefit does that have for him? What benefit does that have for the team? I don't. Even if I was Jacob deGrom, I'd be like, nah, I'm not throwing today.
Yeah,
I don't get it all around.
And if you connect the dots here too, he probably threw this morning, and then the team said, that looked all right. No MRI. It's like, well, let a doctor look at his elbow that's clearly not working. Like what are we doing? Your doctors suck, and if they don't, they clearly aren't giving MRIs. So it's like, get this guy looked at.
It's literally blowing my mind. I don't understand. This again, here we go again. Why I said, deGrom, don't sign the extension with the Mets.
No, and I wrote an article bashing it when it happened too, and it's or a blog. I don't want people thinking I'm a journalist, but
You're Baseball Writers Association.
yeah.
Done.
I wrote a blog the day it came out and I bashed it and I said the contract is, I didn't like the contract because I think he's worth $30+ million.
Easy,
But the
easily.
bigger argument is I didn't think he should have wasted the rest of his career on the Mets.
No.
Even if that meant he had to suffer through the next 2 years and then still got another shot to go get a ring or something somewhere else and get some money that he deserved.
Yep.
But I mean, he's stuck there now. He made his bed, and this is kind of what you would expect with a long-term Mets signing, is for it to not go well.
I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I'm getting enraged just thinking about it. And I do have a couple friends that are Mets fans who I feel bad for. But usually I just laugh at this franchise, but this I can't even laugh about it. I'm just angry.
Well, this is where it gets frustrating, is when they fuck up people's careers.
Yes.
Because it's guys you want to see do well. I mean, when DeGrom took that contract, the one good thing I said about it was, I mean, he's getting money that he's never gotten in his career. He's never really been paid much at all, and he's always been an elite talent. And he's 30 years old or 31 or something now. Yep. So it took way too long for him to get that money. So that was like, I understand signing it now because he won't get the same money at 33 or 32 or whatever it may be at free agency.
And he's a homegrown guy. He's always been there. He's a loyal guy. That's what they say.
But that's the problem. If you're a homegrown guy, you should know exactly how this plays out. You saw Matt Harvey.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
You saw what happened to Matt Harvey, and you saw what happened to that World Series team and how it collapsed and how a lot of it had to do with their training staff.
Yes.
I don't know how you personally don't take it upon yourself and say, dude, I'm going to get an MRI. I'm not letting you guys tell me that I'm just kind of okay because you saw me throw, medium toss in the outfield at 10 a.m.
I don't feel okay.
Yeah. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But
so now so they haven't announced though if they are. Is he on the IL though?
He is on the 10 days. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So so he will miss at least his next start. But hey, what are we gonna do? Just ice it? Like that? Like, this is ridiculous. I mean, he needs to get it looked at. They need to see if whatever, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but whatever happens to your elbow when it's fucked up, they got to look at it. I mean, it's absolutely
Holiday Inn Express last night though, and I know.
It's ridiculous.
Hopefully, by the next time we talk, he has had an MRI. At least you're gonna know. What do they are they like those type of people that be like, I just don't want to know. I don't want to know. No, you need to fucking find out.
You need to know. I mean, it's borderline negligent to just like ruin a guy's arm like that and just hope in April, if it's already hurting, like, what are you gonna do in September? Even though the games won't matter, but what are you gonna do in September if he's just rehabbing a bad elbow? Like, what are we talking about, guys? Absolutely ridiculous. The Mets keep doing Mets things.
Yep. And the A's keep doing A's things.
Yes, they do. I actually like this contract a lot.
So do I.
Obviously. I mean, it's Chris Davis gets a 2-year extension for $33.5 million with the A's.
Chris with a K, not with a C.
Yep. I mean, it's Chris. If Chris Davis got richer than he already is on the Orioles, then that would have been pathetic.
He's hitting against the Sox, though.
But instead, the A's extend Chris Davis with a K. And I mean, there's not really much to discuss here, but it's a great move.
It is.
I mean, you lock up the one guy that's mashing for you, and you move on from there. It's really not that much money. It's certainly for the A's. I mean, obviously they have their money troubles, but I mean, it's a pretty fair deal.
It's no doubt about it. That's how I
in 2 years. I mean, 2 years is nothing. What are the A's going to do in 2 years?
Nothing.
Other than maybe get lucky if they get a couple more guys to build around Chris Davis. But it's outside of that, I mean, it's not going to hurt you to have this guy around for sure.
No, it's a no doubt about it, no brainer. Chris Davis stays 2 more years. He gets $33 million, and let's move on. Yep. That's the kind of deal it is.
And moving north of Oakland, Seattle's 20-game home run streak to start the season was snapped.
That was a stud streak, though, to start.
20 games. I think they lost the last 5 of that 20-game run. But, I mean, Seattle's still up there. They're still fighting. They got a couple extra games, obviously, because of the Japan series. But, I mean, they're still right there with Houston, who we'll get into in a second. I mean, they're the hottest team in baseball, and they're hanging around with them, whether that be because of the extra games or not. They're still there. So
they're better than we are right now.
And hitting home runs is cool. I mean, it won the Yankees 100 games last year. But
it's not going to win them 100 games this year.
And Seattle's a team too. If you can get behind a team like that, I mean, Seattle's fan base will kill it too. But Seattle's got to do something with a team like this. They can't just
Yes.
let them
Ride to
linger
the
on,
sunset.
not make the
Yep.
playoffs, do whatever they always do with their team. Seattle needs
Yep.
to make something of one of these teams that are really good. And last year they had so much potential in the first half. If you're getting that again here, maximize that potential.
Yes.
Don't blow it against
Absolutely.
Seattle.
Yep. Make a move at the deadline if you have to. Just
Seattle, I mean, Seattle's a really
great park.
cool. It's also just a really cool sports town. Like
It
it's
is.
really underrated because their teams don't win a ton. But I mean, and they got teams taken away and everything like that. But Seattle's always been very loyal, very good
Yeah.
place to play, and
Hell,
they
they
deserve a winning team. Absolutely.
They got their quarterback announcing his contract extension right after having sex with Sierra in bed. They got a lot of stuff going on in Seattle right now.
Yeah, but I mean, they deserve this, and their baseball team has
Absolutely.
been bad for too long, and they've had too many good teams in that span to not be winning.
That's a team I could get behind. If the Yankees are not in the playoffs,
Absolutely.
that I would root for.
Awesome uniforms.
They are, and great stadium.
Staying on the West Coast though,
our other guy,
Kershaw, has finally made his 2019 debut.
Thankfully.
In true Kershaw fashion, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, 6 Ks, only 84 pitches in 7 innings. So at any other time during the season, not in his debut, he's going the distance.
Yep.
I mean, it was against the Reds. He's really going the distance. He ended up with a no decision, which that kind of sucks. But
it does.
Regardless, I mean, going 7 innings and pitching as efficiently and getting the strikeouts and doing what he needed to do. I mean, this is the perfect debut from an injury that you could hope for.
It's exactly what I wanted to see out of him.
Yeah. And I mean, when you really think about it, what did we expect? Did we expect him to come out and just suck? Like Clayton Kershaw is going to come out and pitch well. It's kind of like DeGrom. That's why it was so striking to see him with 2 bad starts the way DeGrom has had. But a guy like Kershaw doesn't come out and
it's not happening.
Blow it unless it's October.
he wouldn't have come out and made his debut if he thought he was going to have a clunker.
Yeah. So he's there was speculation before the season even started that he might be okay for the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they've done the right thing and given him a couple extra weeks. Said, take your time, be 100% when you come back, and clearly he looks it. So I mean, they're going to move forward with their ace finally, and Ryu's done an okay job, but no one compares to Kershaw. So he's getting him back is huge for the Dodgers.
He is the face of that franchise, even though they do have a lot of studs on that team.
Absolutely.
Is the face of that franchise, and to have him back is huge.
Absolutely. And then moving back over to the AL East where we live, Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay is off to a hot start, 14-6, plus 44 run differential, best in the MLB by far. Honestly, it's not. It's really. I think they're 11 ahead of the next best team.
It's insane.
So they're really ripping it up. And we talked about it before the season. This team could easily rip it up. They won 90 games last season.
There's nobody knew about it.
Turn around and do it again. So, and that's kind of what they're showing us early on here. So how for real are they, especially with the Yankees and Sox bad starts?
I think they're very for real. I think they're one of the teams that kind of just, it looks like they just kept playing from last year. Like they let off they continued right where they let off last year. The complete opposite of what both of our teams are doing. So why shouldn't we think they're for real? Yeah, they won 90 games last year, and we've said so many times, nobody outside of fans the AL East know that they won 90 games last year. And any other division just about, they would have been right in the race for the wild card or for the division. But of course they were, coming against 2 teams winning 100 games last year, so they were never really in it. But I think that season last year of winning 90 games and not being in it, made them tougher. Their pitching staff is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
It's just so, yeah, I mean, and I think they're kind of playing that like backs against the wall. Nobody cares about us. Nobody likes us. We play in a shitty ballpark. And that's almost an advantage to them, I feel like, when they play there because, we were talking about it earlier. Teams go down there and there's no juice in that ballpark. You don't want to play. It's only, you have no, you're not pumped up to play like you're playing in Fenway. So they're used to that. So I feel like they use it to their advantage too. So unfortunately, I think they're for real.
Yeah. I mean, they very much remind me of Cleveland 2 years ago, where it's just steadfast pitching staff and they quietly do their job. And then all of a sudden they're there at the end of the year and ready for October. And they have the pitching for October. And I think they will really catch people off surprise. I think a lot of people are still assuming the Red Sox and Yankees will turn it around, and Tampa Bay is going to have to keep up with that at some point. But to think that they have the best run differential by far in baseball because of their pitching, because they just don't let up runs. I mean, it's not because they're putting up absolutely absurd numbers. Like, they're just pitching that well. And there's no reason to think they won't continue to do that. Blake Snell had an unbelievable season all year last year. He's come out, done the same thing in the beginning of this season, and he's the anchor of that team, and he's showing no sign that he won't continue to do that.
And how do you shut down big teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees and any team in the playoffs? Pitching. Good championship pitching. They have that, so that's exactly why I feel like if they stay healthy, they will absolutely be in this for the long haul.
Really, all season is kind of, I mean, obviously injuries impact you a lot more if it happens with your pitchers opposed to your hitters. But it's, I mean, if your pitching staff stays healthy and you can pitch like that all season, I mean, there's not a lot of pitching staffs that are that good.
No.
But a lot of people put emphasis on the runs now. A lot of people put emphasis on the scoring. If you're better, you look at the lines and you see that run lines are up and overs are up, and it's all due to everyone putting an emphasis on hitting. But if a team goes the other way, we always see in sports, if a team goes away from the norm, that's the team that comes out and surprises you, because they're going against the grain and saying, no, we're going to go shut down these big hitters that you have, and then we're going to win the game that way. And we're going to grind it out, and we're going to do it that way. So it's...
And then that frustrates teams like the Yankees because they don't want to grind.
Absolutely. And it's not even that you don't want to grind. It's just if you're put in a situation where your hitters can't go and mash and you have to produce runs the old-fashioned way, and you're not equipped to do that, if you only have... You talk about the Yankees. If you only have guys that can hit home runs and the pitchers know how to avoid getting home runs, like,
you're done.
What are you going to do? The Yankees aren't a single team. They're not going to go out and single you to death.
Yeah, they're starting. They're playing a little small ball lately.
Well, their AAA team is going to single you to death, but if you have your actual starters in there, you're not going to get singled to death by them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to keep hitting home runs, and if they can't do that, that's when they lose. And that's what happened to them against the Red Sox in the playoffs, and that's how a lot of teams are built, though, unfortunately. If you have to play the Rays, is you're built to hit home runs, and you're not built to produce runs.
Oh, can you imagine how shitty playoff series would be down at the Trop? Oh, I don't think
it'd be so boring too, but at the same time, Tampa Bay could easily win a series.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And so what they're doing is, I mean, it's good for them, obviously. It's been a while since they've had any success.
Yep.
If they ever have, now that I'm thinking about it. But it's,
I mean, playoff series.
My one takeaway, though, they should go back to the Devil Rays.
I love when they were the Devil Rays. I don't understand why. I love the old school jerseys too.
It's because they totally even abandoned the Devil Ray itself. Like they just went Rays for Sun now. And it's like, dude, but
that's not who you are.
Yeah, Devil Ray is way cooler.
Yes.
Sounds cooler. Jerseys looked cooler.
Swimming out in the outfield.
They were the prototypical 90s uniform, bright color. Bring them back. This is stupid.
Please.
Why did the Rays? I don't
Especially if you're gonna start winning.
Who wants to root for a Sun?
No, nobody. Yeah. Sun causes cancer anyway, so I don't want to hear we can't be. Yeah. What about that team that completely embarrassed my Yankees last week?
Yeah,
in
so
Houston.
The undoubtable, you can debate Tampa, but the undoubtable highest team in baseball is Houston. Yes. And I mean, shouldn't be a shock to anyone. They do it every single year now, but they've won 11 of the last 12. I mean, they are just absolutely rolling. They won 10 straight in that span at one point. They
swept the Yankees.
Lost. I mean, they are absolutely a machine. I mean, who stops them if it's not the Red Sox and Yankees?
Nobody. And that's exactly what they are. You said it perfectly. They are a machine. And again, if they stay healthy, we saw what happened last year. Correa was hurt. Altuve even had the DH in the playoffs because his knee wasn't right. They're healthy. And if they stay like this, I mean, Houston Brewers. That's my,
I mean, if you want to talk Brewers, we don't have to get too much into Houston because it is what we expected.
It is what it is. And I love the Brewers. Again, they're fun. That's all I'm going to say. They're a fun team to watch too.
Always have been. They've been very much the Golden State Warriors of baseball for the last 4 years. And the Red Sox kind of took that away for a second just because of how incredible the season was. But really, I mean, if Houston was healthy, it would have been the same thing. They're still just, the players down there are really fun to watch. And they did a good job of locking those players up and having them very comfortable during the season and not worrying about a contract year, not worrying about free agency, any of that stuff.
Just
They're
doing their
worried
thing.
about baseball. They have their
Yep.
money. They're locked up. So I mean, they're doing it the right way, and it's fun to watch, but it's also scary as a Red Sox
It
and
is.
Yankee
Oh,
fan right
God.
now, just thinking
I love it, but I hate it.
the way our teams look, the shape they're in,
There's no
thinking
chance.
about having to go up against a Houston team at this moment. I mean, there's not a prayer.
I don't want to go against the Rays. Screw even thinking about going against Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. But you mentioned the Brewers.
Yes.
I mean, one thing that you can talk about their hitting and their lineup and Yelich being unbelievable again.
Stupid.
But everyone's doing that. They've done that. I bring you some stats via Adam McCalvey of MLB.com.
Bring it to me.
People want to talk about pitching staffs raking. This staff is legitimately raking. It's not a joke. It's not a hashtag. They are legitimately good at hitting. They have so these are his stats from last week. Through their first 30 plate appearances, they were batting .367 with a .924 OPS. Better than 25 of 30 MLB starting third basemen and 10 DHs in the AL.
And these are pitchers.
Pitchers, all relievers, starters, all of them included. These guys through 30 plate appearances are better than most third basemen and DHs. And it's absolutely insane. And then furthermore, I did some digging. Up to date now, 39 plate appearances, still a .359 average, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 2 doubles. Like, it's absolutely outrageous what they're doing. And it poses the question, because everyone's been talking about getting rid of the DH. I mean, does this change the discussion at all?
I don't know. It's only one team, so I don't think so. I mean,
but it's a real sample size, and it's a real example of how, if you kind of work at it a little bit, pitchers can hit. Like,
yes,
it's not a foreign concept. We've talked about it in the past. Every player grows up pitching, hitting, doing whatever on a baseball field.
If you look at the Phillies, though, have you ever watched their pitchers hit? It's like they've never held a bat in their life. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
so that just shows you the difference between how teams approach things.
Yeah, and that's why the only reason I'm still on side DH. I think it's
absolutely
still overly. I think it's still to a point where it's a bit ridiculous that pitchers are hitting.
Yes.
But this does show the other side. Whereas if the pitching staff works at it, like every other player has to work on defense and offense. If the pitchers have to work on defense and offense, it's possible, and they can be good at it.
Yep.
So that's where the argument is posed. But I agree. The DH is still,
I mean, the DH is never going to go away. It's only going to grow.
If you want pitchers to be great and hitters to be great, then let them focus on what they do the best.
Yes. Yep.
And that's why baseball has been specialized, and that's why it happened that way to one, protect from injury, and two, just have you focusing on what you do best and make you the best at what you do. So,
and it extends careers too. I mean, guys that can't play the field anymore, that can DH. I mean, years ago they would have been done, but now,
but I mean,
extra couple of years.
I do think this type of performance from them really puts a kind of feather in the cap of the other side that says pitchers should stay in, because it's possible. If they can do it, then why shouldn't they be doing it?
And again, it's fun for baseball. I love seeing it.
I do think in the long run, though, the DH needs to be the move.
It'll win out. No doubt about it.
And you can't. I mean, it's so ridiculous that we have two different leagues that have different rules. I mean, you're playing the same damn sport.
Yes.
And you play each other in it's absolutely outrageous that the biggest series every single year, the World Series, you're playing different rules game to game.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, why does that have to be a wrinkle in baseball that you play a game one way all season, and then when it matters the most, you're playing half those games a different way?
Can you imagine in the NBA Finals if the hoop was higher in Golden State than it was in Cleveland?
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. So
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the 3-point line's backed up. Whatever analogy you want to make, it doesn't make any sense to have different rules in different leagues. And I think the DH is smarter, safer, and more exciting way to do it, honestly, because then you get the best product out of every player.
I think we should do a whole show on changing rules that we want to see changed or updated in baseball.
Oh yeah, I mean, it needs it. So
it does.
But Christian Yelich, obviously on that Milwaukee team,
makes fun to watch, man.
We don't have to. This isn't news or anything. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. But I was sitting there looking at what Christian Yelich is doing, and I looked back and said, that 2016 Marlins team is
Oh,
the biggest what if team I've ever seen.
that's very true, dude.
Let me rattle off some guys for you. Marcell Ozuna, who
Crushing it.
just recently had 5 home runs in 4 games.
Yep.
Christian Yelich just had a 3 home run game and 9 home
MVP.
runs and 25 RBIs in the season. JT Realmuto, Justin Bour, who had a tough season last year, but he's pretty much a guaranteed 20 plus home runs. Stan, obviously. And then Jose Fernandez, who obviously, so things went down differently in Miami, and I think a lot of people look at the Jose Fernandez situation and say that's what kind of broke it up.
Yeah.
But in reality, was Miami going to go pay all these guys? No. Like it's almost like, you hate to say it, but it's almost kind of was like a scapegoat for them to say, oh, now we don't have to sign these guys. We have an excuse to say this blew up. But they were 2 starting pitchers away and maybe a closer to being the scariest team in baseball.
Absolutely.
Or that lineup was absolutely stacked. Jose Fernandez is as good of an ace that you can ask for.
He was.
Like, you had all the very important pieces, and they just imploded within. I mean, this lineup was 3 years ago.
And they had 7 people in the crowd every game.
And they imploded within months. So it was, I don't know. I just had to touch on it because when you look back at that, and that's one of those baseball reference deep dives. But when I looked back at that, I said, how the hell did this not work?
Just reading those names, it sounds like an all-star lineup. Like, this is who was brought to the all-star game this year.
Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, they were under 500 that season. I mean, that's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, completely.
For a team to be that talented and be that bad. And, the Red Sox will do it this year or something.
God, I wish the Yankees had traded for Yelich and not Stanton.
You think?
That would have been unbelievable.
You mean the guy that has less RBIs than David Price this season?
All right, he hasn't played, okay? He's got to,
David Price has fewer plate appearances than Giancarlo Stanton this season and has more RBIs than him. That's all I'm going to say. It's a fact.
Do you want to talk about your Red Sox? Let's start there. Why don't we talk about the series last weekend? Talk
about the series. You can go.
It was a little quick hitter. That was it. 2-gamer in the Bronx. Yankees took both. Shutout in the first. The second game, our friend here, Dubs, sent out a tweet saying he was enjoying watching baseball again because the Sox were winning. But
whoa! Don't you dare leave out my caveat. At the end of that tweet, I said, at the end of that tweet, I said, I know I'll regret this. Because I knew.
I think you said I might be talking too soon.
Yeah. Regardless, I knew exactly what was coming. I wasn't sitting there thinking that this game was over in the 3rd inning because we were hitting well. I knew exactly what was going to happen.
You knew bald Brett Gardner was coming.
But I had to say, I was enjoying baseball for the first time all season. It had to be said.
3 innings.
Had to be said. So it was. Brett Gardner's a cocksucker. I hate him. He's the ugliest dude ever. He looks like a fucking cue ball.
Love him.
The eyes. He looks like what's that? Mega Man. For the cartoon.
Yeah.
Looks exactly like him. He's just the worst. Oh, he epitomizes Yankees. He's gross, disgusting looking person.
So fast.
Oh, he waxes his hair with gasoline or his head with gasoline.
The home run made it over the fence by about 1.5 inches.
Yeah, it was disgusting. I hate him.
So how are you feeling after that series, though? Honestly.
Regardless, I'm officially worried after that series. Okay. I thought that was a series where you had to go in and you were looking at a Yankees team that was beaten up.
Yep.
But regardless, you had a chance to go into a hostile environment and get 2 needed wins in the win-loss column and also just needed morale wins. Like, if you can go in there as a team, come together and go beat the Yankees for 2 games, and it's a bad Yankees team. It's a situation where you should go in and win.
Yep.
Regardless of the situation, but even more so you need it now, and they didn't even get 1 win. So I was officially worried, not just short term but long term after seeing that, because I thought they didn't show nearly enough fight. You had Sale on the mound in the first game and he got absolutely shelled. Like, if you got Sale on the mound coming in, the big solution to all our problems, Sandy Leone catching, like
don't even get you started on that one.
Yeah. And we can get into that in a second because I'll talk Swihart to Arizona, but it's absolutely ridiculous that you couldn't even get one of those. I mean, the Sale game in particular is a must win. The Eovaldi game is like whatever, but if you've got your ace on the mound against a bad or a beat up Yankees team, got to go in and win that game.
I agree, but Paxton came in and did what he was supposed to do and why they traded for him.
I agree, but you can't let him do that. You got to fucking hit him. Like, you got to
he's our new ace.
You got to go in there and start whapping some singles, doubles, whatever you got to do to score. Like, you can't let him go in there and shut you down like that when you know you have an opportunity to go beat a bad Yankees team and catch a lot of morale that you need.
Yep.
And it was the perfect situation to do it, and they couldn't have dropped the ball more. It was really, really upsetting.
It was very, very not upsetting.
All right, well, let's talk about the game after that series for you guys.
Yeah, so in case you guys don't know, so the Yankees won both games against the Sox, and then they're under 500. Everybody's hurt. They beat the Sox 2 games in a row at home, which is great. That's great, but it's April. They partied in the clubhouse with a fog machine and strobe lights.
Not to cut you off, but in their defense, I mean, how often do they really get to celebrate in that home locker room?
Okay, all right.
Still smells like champagne in the road locker room.
Yes, it does. And then Aaron Judge brings out his boombox again. Does he not remember what happened?
I didn't know that. I didn't even know that. That's awesome. Why does he is the most don't give the ox to that guy person ever. Like, why in the world did you give that guy the ox?
And he carries it around. It's like a suitcase. Like, I don't. And then they go out and lose 6-1 the next night against the Royals.
Absolutely, the Royals suck. Like,
yes, they were terrible.
Luckily, is. I mean, it couldn't. Yeah.
They beat them Friday night, but you can't come off 2 big wins against the Sox. Celebrate like you just won the fucking ALCS and then lose 6-1 at home against the Royals. You know what? Enjoy it. I celebrate, but not like that.
That's literally what I was about to say. I was like, you can't celebrate in the locker room like that.
No.
Go out. Go hit a club. Get the whole team together and say, hey, man, this was a good series. We had a lot of young guys and everyone's hurt. Like, a lot of young guys came through for us in these 2 games. Let's go out, booze on the vets and
done.
And that's how you celebrate it. You don't go in the locker room and act like you just want
fog machine. Dude. Yeah. Like, I've never even
ridiculous.
Seen any team do that when they won the world. Have you ever seen a fog machine in a locker room with a strobe light?
It's ridiculous. So
what were they playing? Did Judge put "It's Raining Men" on the boombox when they were in there? Like, I don't.
This is the problem with it. So this is a perfect example of the Yankees kind of reaching for what they don't have, which is camaraderie. Yes. And they're not one unit. They're a bunch of guys mashing home runs and kind of going about their own day. They're very much a bunch of Jacoby Ellsbury's.
Mm-hmm.
Minus Jacoby Ellsbury.
I kind of like that some of these young guys are up, like Tachman, and they're because they are kind of like together as young guys trying. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of bringing that a little bit to the team that doesn't have it.
Yeah, which is the perfect transition to talking about the young guys coming up together as we see the Red Sox traded Blake Swihart to Arizona. Now listen.
I'm just going to let you go on this one. I'm going to sit back.
Blake Swihart, if you look at his numbers, especially so the big deal is everyone's looking at his numbers behind the plate and the Red Sox win-loss record with him behind the plate. Nobody's looking at the fact that he had dog shit pitchers that he's got out there. Every time he went out, he's never had an ace has never pitched to Blake Swihart. And he's out there. First of all, this year he's hitting the ball very well. Mm-hmm. Anytime he gets a real kind of stretch to hit, he hits. But then people are holding against his records when he's getting called up in September, not getting many chances, getting shit pitchers. And it's just been a screw job from the very beginning. John Farrell placed that on Swihart when he came up because Swihart was very much a part of that core. That Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Benintendi, all those guys came up together. Swihart and Betts lived together for years. This was a part of that core, and you didn't give that guy a chance to shine at all. And he's an absolute MLB talent and an everyday catcher in the MLB. And people looked at his defense early in his career. His defense has been so much better over his career. He's made himself a multi-position player. He's reliable in the outfield. He's not going to blow you away, but he's reliable. Mm-hmm. He can DH. He's a catcher. And what do? You trade him away for really not much to Arizona and bring up Sandy Leon. Now you're stuck with 2 catchers that bat .220 at best for the season. And now you get no offensive production for that team for what? Because Chris Sale feels better with Sandy Leon? Chris Sale has had other catchers in his career. He hasn't been a Red Sox forever. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing? Why is that a real thing?
I can't wait to see Greinke go out and pitch to him and throw like an 8-inning 3-hitter.
Yeah, and you know what else? If Swihart can't call a great game, then one, let him get on page with some of these good pitchers. You haven't
Yes.
even given him a chance. His
Yep.
whole career, he hasn't had a chance to actually have a good pitcher and work with him and build a rapport. They never gave him a shot. And it goes back to John Farrell, and now you got to kind of put part of it on Alex Cora, even though he gave him much more of an opportunity last season and the beginning of this year than he had ever been afforded with Farrell. But you look back and it's like, how did a man get screwed out of? I mean, the fans are getting screwed out of what could have been a really, really good player with this organization for a long time.
Well, and he's a guy you want to. I mean, now I can root for him more, but he's what's not to like about him? I mean,
dude,
you want to root for this type of guy.
Swihart has been the next big thing for so long, yet they never gave him a real chance.
Yeah.
Vasquez came up like it was freaking nothing. He had like a good month in AAA, and they were like, "Oh, this guy can hit. Bring him up. He's a great defensive guy. Got a great arm." By the way, Swihart's arm is awesome. It was really just him calling the game for the most part. Because now, I mean, he blocks balls well. He does everything well. It's just if he can't call the game, a lot of that has to do with he doesn't have a rapport with the pitcher.
Exactly. He doesn't understand what the pitcher wants in what situations.
Yeah. So it's been, like I said, I keep saying it, it's been a screw job from the beginning. It's just ridiculous that he's off this team and our catchers are Sandy Leon and Christian Vasquez. And it's nothing against them because I like both of them. And both of them, the thing they get complimented on the most is something that they do incredibly well, which is call games and be a defensive catcher. But if you're getting no production out of that spot when you had a guy this whole time that could have been giving it to you,
it just doesn't make sense.
Unacceptable. Especially early in the season like this, to panic like that and make that move when he was really one of the few guys producing. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And another thing that I guess a little confused about for the Yanks side of things is today is Gio Gonzalez Day.
Yeah, get into this. So I'm actually not too informed on this. This is good to talk about this.
They signed him to a minor league contract in the offseason, but he had an opt-out clause of April 20th. If he was not brought up to the big league club by then, he could opt out of the contract that day and be free to go. He actually fired Scott Boras this week.
I did see that.
So I don't know if he's saying, this was a shitty contract for you to get me into, or, you're not fighting for me to get up to the big league club, but he's not in the big league club yet. Yeah, the Yanks have, Sevy's out, but a lot of the young pitchers like Herman and Sessa have been pitching really well, so he hasn't had an opportunity. So I haven't heard yet if he has opted out. I heard he was probably going to. I've heard rumors of him going to the Mets as an option, so that would be another very Mets move. So we'll see. But yeah, today is not only 420, but it's Gio Gonzalez Day. So
that's what I was going to ask. So he did say that he probably is going to opt out if
all the reports I've seen. Yeah.
But if they don't agree to a deal, does he have to opt out?
No, it's not. No, he can.
Contract?
And so they signed him to a minor league deal. I mean, he could stay on that deal all year. He just has an opt out of today's day. If he's not on the big league club, he's allowed to opt out of the contract.
And have the Yankees given a reason for why he hasn't been called up?
I haven't.
Because I mean, they've got pitching injuries left and right. They could use just having an extra arm on the roster, especially if it means hanging on to a guy.
It's like they signed him and then never said another thing. I haven't heard.
The Red Sox did that with Swihart for 10 years. So
it's just like I don't, I haven't heard about one start he's out of the mind. I've heard nothing.
Yeah, that's a really weird situation. And it's we talked about Gio Gonzalez when he got him, and it's obviously he's not the same guy that he used to be. But I mean, there's no reason he couldn't help you guys out right now. The way your pitching staff is hurt.
Why not just throw him out there? I mean, what's against like this series against the Royals? Put him out there for a start.
Yeah,
I don't know. And another strange thing, they signed Logan Morrison. Remember him, first baseman? So and he was jawing with Sanchez a couple years ago. They were going back and forth, and Sanchez called the fans stupid. It was a whole thing. So, I mean, I guess you won't really have to worry about it because Sanchez is on the DL, but he's slated. He can come back as early as this week, Sanchez. So hopefully they start getting some of the cavalry back.
That's one of those situations too, where a lot of times that doesn't end up mattering. A lot of times a team will pick up a guy that they still have a guy that they had issues with in the past. Like when we first got Price and Poppy had a long history
Oh,
of
yeah.
hating each other, and it wasn't an issue. And obviously, not everyone's Big Poppy where it's hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone walks in, it's like he finds a way to make you love him. But
Yep.
and I don't think Gary Sanchez does that. But
Gary Sanchez does that.
Gary Sanchez looks for ways to like, I don't know, these people are starting to like me. What should I do?
Yeah. I'm gonna walk to first base.
Pass ball. Go
Yeah.
pick it up and stub my toe on the ball on the backstop. Sure.
Nope,
Okay.
Now I'm hurt. Right to the IL. I don't know, man. I'm to the part where I'm worried as well. Obviously, we're a couple games ahead of you guys, but
not
many.
We're finally. The one thing I will say about the Sox is there is a trend upward. They're not necessarily winning many games yet, but the pitching the starters especially, outside of maybe Porcello, are starting to put together better starts. Whether they're getting shelled or not, they're starting to, the velocity's going up. The pitches are moving more. Sale got shelled in that game, but I mean, Sale's, if you just look at the pitches, those are the best pitches he's been throwing all season.
Yeah.
I mean, his slider looked good. He was throwing 97.
Yep.
It was one of those days where he just wasn't placing it well, but the movement was there, and you see the progress in a lot of these guys. And unfortunately, some late breaking news today was Eovaldi got sent to the 10-day DL with an injury. I missed what it was because it just came through, but I mean, I don't know. And quick Red Sox news before we finish up here too. We called up Michael Chavez, who really put on a show in spring training. He had 5 or 6 home runs. He's played a few games at second base, and we kind of had to rush him in there with Pedroia going to the 10-day DL.
Yep.
But I'm curious the outsider point of view of Pedroia right now.
Done.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of how I feel. I think it's a situation where he's going to need to retire for them to be done. They're going to keep. I mean, he's a leader on the team. He's still well respected, and he's had a great career as a Red Sox. The Red Sox have shown they don't push guys that have done them well out the door unless there's a real internal issue. And if Pedroia is just going to come off the 10-day DL and still hit 150, like, I don't know how you keep him out there.
I mean, I see him as being a manager one day or a coach. Like, I've never seen a guy in the dugout when was last year was on the DL all year coaching like the young guys and you could just see him walking through every little thing of the game. So, I mean, I don't know, would he be a type of guy that they could keep on, or
probably not as a coach right away. He's got young kids, he's got his family, but it could be very much a Varitek situation where they slowly move him into a role where he can coach. I mean, Varitek's they quietly just been moving up the ranks toward being a coach. I mean, it was discussed that they might bring Varitek. Thank God they didn't do this. It would have been such an Aaron Boone move. But it was discussed that Varitek could have been the next manager before they signed Alex Cora. So he's moving up the way. You're right. Pedroia is very much a guy that could do something like that. And it's also a guy that if you did want to bring him on as an assistant, I mean, he works great with Cora. Those guys play together. They have a good rapport, same position. They tend to think the same way when they look at the game. So I think that's a good guy definitely to have around. And even if you do the A-Rod thing, where you just
special advisor,
he says I'm retiring, I'm not playing anymore, but I'm gonna ride out my contract. I think he's got a couple more years. So if you say, hey, I'm riding with this contract, and the Red Sox are like, all right, we'll pay you the 20 a year or whatever, but you're just gonna be an assistant coach instead. I'd much prefer that than the situation where I'm now, where because he's too much of a competitor to not keep trying to come back. But it's very clear that he's not going to do the Red Sox any favors by doing that.
I agree. And he's, again, a guy you want to root for. So it's, you don't want to see it end very ugly.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that's it for us today. I mean,
I'm
hit them all, got the brawl in. Vlad Jr. is back.
Yankees
the Red
and
Sox won a game against Tampa yesterday, so maybe the Red Sox are back.
Yankees beat the Royals. Maybe they're.
I'll see for myself next Saturday. I'm going to the Sox game against the Rays.
Attaboy.
So,
one last funny thing I'm going to end it on is John Sterling, who you love to make fun of.
Sterling, for anyone that doesn't know, by the way, because I don't know if we talked about him on the show, John Sterling does the radio for the Yankees broadcast for the last 300 years, and he's a psychopath. He's like Vicky D times 10. Like it
is high, it is far, it is caught before the warning track. What?
I mean, didn't he do Stanton's first home run in Spanish? Or
Yes.
try to.
Yes.
Bro,
But
Spanglish.
it was like Italian though. It wasn't even. But he had Tachman's first home run the other night against the Red Sox. Tachman is his last name. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Tachman, the sock man. What the fuck does that even mean? He just, I met him last couple months ago, but he's a very nice man. But him and Susan, they will, you'll hear the game going on behind them, and they'll be talking, oh, John, and it'll be 1 out, nobody on. You hear hits in the background, and then all of a sudden it's like 2 outs, bases loaded. You're like, what the fuck happened? They've been telling a story about 1974.
He sounds like a bootleg announcer from Backyard Baseball.
He does. But I love him. I love both of them so much. I'm going to put them on and listen to the game today.
He is the one thing where it's kind of similar to the Mets, where you kind of laugh at how ridiculous it is. He's very much like Mike Francesa, where he is just not of this world. I mean, he was 3 generations ago. His references and how he sees the game and how he calls it, and how
do you predict baseball? Baseball?
It is absurd, but at some point, I mean, if you're the Yankees, can you really have this guy as your radio guy? You can't. I imagine it gets hard at times to even make sense of what he's talking about.
The other day he stuttered about 4 times. He couldn't get it out, and then he just stopped for about 15 seconds, and it was just silent. He's like, I'm okay. And then it was just like, all right, this is great.
So,
all right, everybody. Yeah, that is. Maybe we'll break down some baseball announcers later.
We'll have to. One of these days, I'll cut up a best of John Sterling.
Yes, please. That would be phenomenal.
It'll sound so irreverent, and it'll be great.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me so happy. But Dubs, let everybody know where they can find us.
All right, guys. So bear with me here. We got at Kmess22. If you want to follow Kmess on Twitter. Myself at Brandon Nick Dubs on Twitter. Give me a follow. Follow Crowding the Plate on Twitter at CTP Pod. Follow or subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. It's just Crowding the Plate. Just search it in YouTube. Make sure you go follow us at Branded_sports. Did I miss any?
I think we're in. We're everywhere. The local library, wherever you want to find us, we'll be there.
Perfect. But follow us somewhere. Make sure you know what's up.
Rate,
should be on time next week. This week is crazy, but ton happened in baseball. I think we hit on all of it, and
baseball's
get ready
in
for more.
Swing, baby.
I mean, it's hopefully the Red Sox and Yankees can start ticking upwards. So
because otherwise we might have to
quit. A little more excited to talk about them.
Yeah.
We might have to. I've been thinking about soccer recently and getting into it.
Yeah.
So.
Man City, baby. Yeah, you didn't even predict that right.
Hey, man, listen, I don't have to be right when it comes to soccer. I'm just trying to enjoy a sport again. It has been a miserable few weeks with the Red Sox. So
yes, but at least you have your Celtics.
Turn around. Maybe we can get more than 5 home games this season and see what happens.
We'll see. All right, everybody. We will catch you middle of the week next week. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Easter. Happy Passover. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.